And we're going to start. I'm going to make sure that we are on the Facebook as well. Here's Doug. So give me a second over here. I'm going to start in a moment over here. Okay. Hey, Doug. Okay, and we also live on on the Facebook group. KW shares. We're streaming live over here. We can just mute our chill out music vibe over here. I'm gonna continue the party after that. Don't you worry. Okay, so Doug, can you hear me? Okay, cool. All right. So, hello everybody. Good afternoon. Excited to launch our series of masterminds for the year. 12 masterminds once a month. We're gonna have more than just 12 basically, but those are our official masterminds, and kind of like go around different topics that are considered to be hot topics or whatever you guys out there ask from us to excuse me, to share and to brainstorm and to have those players out there that the experience and they have the wisdom and the once again the knowledge of what we're going to talk about. Can you hear me fine, by the way? This thumbs up, guys. Can you hear me fine? See me fine? All right, cool. So thanks again for joining. So the first one for the series for this year is distressed properties. And kind of just a quick, in a nutshell, then I'm going to introduce all the panelists. The reason for us to even talk about distressed properties, we're not in the distressed market, right? But it's just another piece of the pie, something that we always want to learn about and understand like the science, if you may, behind it, from a lender perspective, how to approach it, from a title perspective, the opportunities, the resources, and from agents who have experienced that in the past, right? How to go about it. And not that we wish for the market to be distressed again, but we always want to be, one step ahead and to have that kind of knowledge. So, quick introduction. See, who's in the room. We have start with our affiliates. We have Jojo. He's our in-house lender with House America Financials for the Calabasas and Westside offices. Veteran lender in that industry. And Jojo, how many years in the business? Cannot hear you, Jojo. You muted.
25 years and longer. But I'm only 40. I'm only 30 though. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not really young. So we have Jojo who's going to give us the lender perspective, and then Kevin Kenny, who's been a titled veteran for many years. He's out of our Long Beach office. Kevin.
When dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Okay, so
I started.
couple of years ago. Yeah, exactly. He's been around for quite some time, so I'm looking forward to his wisdom. We have Doug Puetz. Doug, very diverse background as a owner and a producer. Doug, are you already hitting the 30 years in the business, or
32? Fortunately.
Was that
33?
Oh, 33. Okay, you passed it. Yeah. Okay, so beyond veteran. Doug experienced also like busy years in the post-crash market. And Alan Rosenberg. Alan, are you also in the 30 years number? Cannot hear you, Rosenberg.
42.
42. Okay. Oh, okay.
Wow.
33. And Rosenberg, fix your audio because we cannot hear you for some reason. I apologize. All right, so let's open up, and I'll start with you, Kevin, first, okay?
Okay.
Just to give us, hold on for a second. Rosenberg, mic check. Rosenberg, mic check. Yeah, all right, cannot hear you still. That's fine. You work on that to fix it and chit chat so we can hear you. Kevin, go for it.
Yes.
Just to get a button for a second from you, open up the session.
Well, basically, I think, I mean, like the guys have said, we've all been doing this 30 years or so, or more. And just a couple statistics. I like statistics. I think they kind of put things in perspective. So bottom line, at the current time, 70% of all homeowners nationally and 74% in California have 20% or more equity at the current time. That's really simple to know why our appreciation in California, particularly Southern California, has been between 6 and 8% for the last 7 years. So just do the math. If you came in with an FHA or VA loan with very little down and you've been in your house 5 years, you're at about 25 to 30% equity. So again, until you're over encumbered or you don't have other options, obviously foreclosure is not an issue, right? Even if you fall behind, as long as there's equity in the property, you sell it and you walk away with your equity. I do think the biggest issue that we're going to be seeing, if there will be any type of distressed future market, if you will,
Yep.
Will be the forbearance kind of situation that we're seeing. So currently, and this is as of December 29th, there are about 3 million loans that are in forbearance. Now, what had been happening was the big banks hadn't really, like lots of COVID-related things, the big banks have not really had a cohesive plan. Well, as of December 29th, there are 964,000 GSE mortgages, 1.1 million FHA, and 700,000 portfolio held mortgages that all came due December 29th. So the good news is the banks will come up. All of those entities are going to have to come up with a plan, right? It's been kind of, everybody's kind of dealt with it differently. But again, the good news there is most of those people, while they may not be making their payments, are in a good equity position. So, from a, forbearance thing, the good news, okay, so if you're looking for a niche for future foreclosures, we got to look at who has the highest aptitude to go into foreclosure. That would be people that came in probably FHA or VA because they had very little money down. Then they went into forbearance. Now there's going to be lump payments due, and they're not in a great equity position. Just so you know, you can reach out to us. We could do data in a very specific zip code of everybody who has 90% LTV or more, right? So people that are really tight. And that's an easy farm to do. So if you're thinking about that, I think it's something you might want to look at after the second quarter, because again, by then the forbearance kind of rules will be a little more firm across the board. But that's kind of the precursor. We always watch the Inland Empire, right? That tends to be in Southern California world. The Inland Empire leads with foreclosures, and then it kind of goes LA, then Orange, and then normally San Diego and Ventura are last because they're smaller and they're higher price point. And we haven't seen almost any. I'm looking at the auction.com numbers. Very few people are going to foreclosure. And I think there's, obviously all these guys can talk about the reasons for that. But those are kind of overall numbers.
Yeah, so and I'm going to have some follow-up questions for you, Kevin, but amazing stats right away. We have a lot of questions already, which I'm going to address to you guys.
Okay.
I'm going to, so thank you for that, super valuable. I want to jump for a second to the realtor in the room, right? Doug and Alan. Doug, question for you, right? In today's market, when you hear distressed properties, does it even mean anything to you? Or do in a sense of like, do you think, oh, it's going to come, there's opportunity, or you don't really care about it?
So distressed properties, you're just discussing just what the numbers that we're just talking about. So I think what's going to happen with all those, they don't care that I have clients right now that haven't made their payments in 10 months and the bank's cool with it. So basically it's probably going to go about a year without making payments, and all they're going to do is add it at the end of the loan. So a lot of these are going to go away. Then you have to remember anytime that they're going to start all this, it's going to take what, 6 months? And then it's going to take a couple more, probably another 6 months to get the eviction actually done. And then another 3 to 4 months for eviction. So it sounds good, but we're like so ahead of the curve right now, it doesn't really matter. And with the government and the new government coming in, they're going to say, hey, banks, we bail you out every single time. Just put the money at the very end of the loan and call it a day, and we're going to move forward. As long as those people continue making their payments, it's going to be just like the short sales. But instead of the short sales, what they did was they went ahead and discounted the mortgage and went ahead and started the loan over again. This time, all they're going to do is probably add it to the rear. So you're not going to get a lot of them. And you have to remember, in the last 5 years, I hate to say, 95% of all the people that got a house qualified for it. It wasn't the BS that we went through before. So I don't see a lot of this happening. And another thing, the banks learned a lot from 10 years ago. I represent 2 banks right now that I do foreclosures for and do this, the BPOs for. And they're looking for the end user now. They're not going to get so many where before all they wanted it was off the books. They're looking for the end user. So if something's worth 500,000, they're going to list it for 500,000. And what they're doing right now, they're going to go to auction.com and things like that. The only places that you're really going to see distressed properties are through auction.com and such, because they're just sending their garbage over there. So I don't see really anything happening. But I do see happening is the people that are 10 months behind that you can see, those people are going to go, hey, I got $100,000 worth of equity. I'm going to go ahead and sell the house and get out of this situation. So I think it's going to cause people to sell, but you're not going to be able to buy. You're not going to be able to get them through foreclosure and such.
Well, just a real quick adjunct to that. Auction.com, last numbers, right? December of 2020. Their average sales price on their website has gone up 27%, which tells me it's not a deal, right? It's just not a deal. So, and then that gets rid of a lot of investors, particularly from out of state, that think they can swoop in on an auction.com scenario and get a house for 50% of its value. We just aren't seeing that. It's not, those numbers aren't playing out that way.
You're 100% correct. And then a lot of these places add 5% on top of it. Which
That's right.
Oh, you're getting the house for 500. You're really getting it for 525. You went and bought it on the open market. Us as realtors, it's better for us to buy it on the open market before going to auction.com.
Absolutely. I would concur.
And you know, thank you guys for that insight, because that's one of the goals, is really to educate, right, the gatekeepers, the realtors, of how to even go about that to begin with, right? Talking about, you know, loans, numbers, etc. Jojo, we had a great start for the year with the mortgage rates, right? Still, you know, I guess all-time low.
Yes.
Not that much change over there.
So,
in your perspective, yeah, go ahead.
so we ended the year in 2020 with very, like, the lowest of all rates in history. We brought in January 2021, and let's just see, the averages are still very low, and accordingly, it's going to stay. It's about 2.71 for a 30-year and roughly about 2.2 on average on a 15-year as of today, depending on what the market is doing on each day, but that's about an average. Now, although Mortgage Bank Association predicts and projects or forecasts that it should level off somewhere in the 3s, mid-years and towards the end of the year, that can change again depending on what fiscal policies come out of the new administration. So that's where rates are hovering. It will be, even if it jumps to the 3s, it's still a decent, or hell, it's a great deal. But let me talk a little bit about the forbearances that you asked me to prepare for today. So these numbers I'm going to throw out mimics and echoes what Doug and Kevin said, and it's not a reflection of whether I believe there will be a distressed market or not. But these numbers, I like facts, like Kevin. I like numbers. So this should add to the reinforcement of what these two gentlemen just said. Just like Kevin said, there's about 2.83 million of loans in forbearance as of ending 2020. There's about 1.1 in FHA. So there's about 4.8 total ending in 2020 that are still in forbearance. Some key dates here. The foreclosure prevention that was enhanced or put together by the CARES Act will end the first deadline is January 31st. Now watch those numbers. The second one, depending on who services your loan, will end on February 28th. Much like exactly what Doug and Kevin said, these people have either been in 10 months or 6 months or 12 months of forbearance. Now they have three ways at the end of these, at the end of their 180 or 360 days of forbearance. Maximum allowed was a year. They can either repay the full balance that were in arrears. They can loan modify, or they can ask the servicer to add it back to the end, just like what Doug said. The one thing that they cannot do immediately is they cannot refinance immediately. They have to, if it's a Freddie or a Fannie loan, they have to wait 3 months of payments, and then hopefully their credit score was not adversely affected, and then they can refinance. If it's another servicer, not Fannie or Freddie, some lenders will require 12 months of current payments. So where does the challenge lie? Well, just like Doug said, I don't really think that there will be a distressed market per se, but those individuals that got into the FHA and the VA products in the last couple of years may not have that equity that Kevin was talking about today. So they may not have that substantial cushion that they need. Now, the key measure in 2021 is those individuals that went into forbearance, if they are not back on the employment, they're not back on the job on February or March, and they now have to decide what they're going to do with the forbearance or their payment in arrears, yet they can't make their payment, go back to their normal payment. What happens next? Well, they can choose the 3, or they can choose possibly to sell the home and take advantage of that equity. May not be as much as a 5-year equity that Kevin projected, but they will still have some in the last couple of years, as we've seen the appreciation numbers really stand out in 2021 and 2020 and 2019, excuse me. So the bottom line is this, that the FHA and the VA loans are the ones that are taking the most beating. They're the ones that are really behind. The facts that I have here today tells me that most of the in arrears or in forbearance or just in late pays, 30s, 60s, and 90s are mostly in the FHA and the VA portfolio. The bulk of that in the FHA portfolio, predominantly originated in the last couple of years. Now, I got more facts here, but I'll stop there for now.
No, good content, and once again, great questions, which I'm going to share a little bit. Well, better picture. Yes, Tim?
Just remember that CARE Act and the foreclosure moratorium are both overlays that are going on right now, right? That are due to COVID. So even when I search properties, I haven't seen a 60 or 90. I mean, I haven't seen a notice of default on anything in definitely since March. So again, we are a non-judicial foreclosure state. So obviously the procedures, once we get to that, you got 111 days of time to tell you what's going on.
5 different directives.
I'm gonna take
apart just their backgrounds and none of them.
Because you have background noises over there, so sorry about that. Alan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
There you go.
Yeah, we got you loud and clear. Question for you, right? And you're like in it, right? You guys were just nonstop. Where did you learn I'm going to call it, I don't want to call it the art of short sales, right? But where did you learn how to handle that, business, short sales, REOs, the contracts, negotiations, etc.?
Well, one of the things that I'm seeing currently is that I have a lot of investors who want to purchase, these deals, and they're looking for REOs or foreclosure properties, and I'm just like, these are just not going to be happening for a while. All these people were predicting as these values went up throughout the end of the last year that as these prices keep going up, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And we're saying, it's going to happen fourth quarter, it's going to happen first quarter. And I just don't see this happening through the government, through a new change in the political arena here. I don't see that happening. I see banks consolidating. and not taking back these properties. And the properties that you guys have been talking about here, these are these FHA properties. A lot of these are priced homes that these investors are now looking for. They're looking for these high ticket items, especially here in the Southern California area. So it seems like it doesn't seem like there's a lot of movement for that happening. It could happen, and I think Doug is absolutely correct. I think we're way ahead of the curve here. I think that the rumblings are there. I think that there's a lot of banks trying to figure out, as well as the government interaction with them, as to how they're going to be handling this. But I just don't see it coming yet. And the high-end properties, they've been taking on equity and equity and equity. And I think that they're going to try to sell the properties, if they're going to, by adding all this past payments that they haven't made to the back end of their deal. They're going to work out with their banks. I see mostly from my point of view, the short sales that I have spoken to recently had more to do with that the property went into some kind of issues with the property itself as different than the sellers themselves. It was the property that had the damage, and now so the value of the property went down or did not move along like everybody else's, because the properties that just seemingly all in the Southern California area, which was where we work mostly, I just don't see it dropping. For me, short sales started it just kind of came upon me, client after client after client. We don't have the equity in our property. I just don't see it. I see more and more sellers, well, we want X amount of money because that's the market value. And if the market value is there, even with this forbearance or something coming forward, or NODs, I just see that they're going to be able to get out of these properties, and they're not going to go to REOs, and that market's down the road a ways.
I agree.
Yeah, well said. Good points all across. Kevin, you had something to add?
No, I totally agree. I think that's exactly where we're headed. All the numbers look that way.
Yeah. Talking about NODs, I mean, if it's you, Kevin, from the title perspective, people are reaching out to you, your clients, your agents, and doggone, I mean, are you subscribed to any kind of?
We subscribe to. I subscribe to a lot of data services. You subscribe to Foreclosure Radar. You put your parameters in, it drops them in all the time. Again, just remember there's 111 days in the traditional, non-judicial foreclosure process. It's all very segmented. We don't have to have courts in California deal with that like other states do. But again, the good news for the way I look at it is both sides of the aisle are looking to real estate as the beacon through COVID, and they really aren't going to do anything to screw with that. Okay, so as restaurants and God knows so many other industries are not doing well, we are, and banks don't like being on 60 Minutes, and they don't like being perceived as taking advantage of people. Okay, so we've got that other kind of social media narrative that it will continue to be a thing, right? And so given those factors, I'm going to say, Doug, I don't see anything. Like, I can't even imagine talking foreclosure traditional probably before 2023, 2022, 2023. They're projecting rates will stay where they are for the next 2 years, give or take a little blip, because of all of the government debt. It's not about us as consumers. It's about the repayment on all of the stimulus products and the trillions of dollars that are going out, right? Yeah, they still got to pay that back, and they're not going to pay that back at a higher rate. So, when you're penalizing the person making the rates, it probably is going to stay where it's going to stay, right? While I think distressed properties probably, if you go to other parts of California, go to the Central Valley, you will see more of that. Central California has because they have different depending on their infrastructure. And I think other parts of California we're seeing a huge exodus of people leaving San Francisco. But again, they all have equity. They're just moving to suburbs. So, I keep looking for an indicator that there's a distressed market. I'm just not seeing it, even in the next year.
Yeah, and I put in the chat just a link to one of the KW coaching sessions about foreclosure and short sales, because some of you guys, whoever's watching, was asking about some kind of a training or what have you. Once again, I mean, the best training is to be in it, but it's just like a good resource for you to see like there's some things out there so you can have a bit more in-depth understanding or coaching how to go about it if things will turn.
Well, like I have a question for Jojo. So if I'm in forbearance, is it in my best interest if I'm given an option to avoid the loan mod option because that did bite some people in the ass in the past? Or is that a viable option that they should look at, or just throw it on the end? What would you tell someone?
Jojo, unmute yourself because I muted you.
So the loan mod option is a third option available, and typically today the servicer can even offer that, the existing servicer, versus going to a third party like we did in 07, 08, and 09.
Gotcha.
It's there. However, the best option is what you all already have mentioned, the secondary, which, believe it or not, it's the second option listed on my notes from my research, is putting it in the back end. Putting in the back end, and if that cannot work for whatever reason, which typically it should 98%, 99% of the time, then the loan mod option would be the third option, which is changing the terms, which means changing the rate or extending the term to cover or mitigate that piece that they haven't paid. So for example, lowering the rate and they're still making the same payments, most money will go back into they can take the difference of that money that they would have normally been paying to principal interest and pay it back to the deferred amount. Or increasing the term from 30-year to like a 35 or even a 40-year to cover that deferred amount. So those would be available from the servicer. But adding the whole thing in the back end seems to be the most prevalent solution, option number 2. And then option 1, in 3 months or 12 months, is to refinance the loan altogether and recapture that deferred amount. Hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Doug, Alan, what would you recommend to, you gave your insight and say, hey, we're way ahead of the game. We're stepping into pretty much second pandemic year, right? You almost, we're about 10 months right now into pandemic, right? What's the best recommendation that you could give right now to agents that are in the game? They're either, new or under 5 years, or they're in it full time. What would you recommend them to focus on right now?
I mean, it's exactly what you focused on last year and the year before. Is prospect, find someone that's thinking about buying or selling. So I wouldn't go after distressed properties or anything else. I'd go after obviously listings is the best thing to have right now, and buyers are not. So prospecting, I think soon we'll be able to start going, if not door knocking, at least littering, going to people's houses and dropping off just sold or just listed cards. Those are a little bit more effective than mail outs, and cold calling is very effective. I have a buyer for your home, and the biggest one is going to all your friends, family, and everyone and go, I cannot believe this. If you're thinking about moving, this is the time. Because I honestly feel we are near the top at this phase. There's always going to be another top, but we're near the top now. So if it goes up another 10% or down 10%, it doesn't matter. We're near the top. And as you know, you never know when you're at the top until you're going down. But I would feel comfortable telling any of my family, friends, or anyone, if you're thinking about moving in the next 5 years, it's probably a good time to do it now. And if you, just by talking to people, they'll go, oh, we're not thinking about moving, but Jim is, and that's all you want.
Yep. Well, and just remember, as far as data sources, we have data sources. You have to pay for the lead at 6 cents a piece, but we can get you cell phone numbers. We can get you, like right now, if I were an agent, and I'm not, I'm just a title guy, but you know, there's legislation currently, Prop 19, there's a couple dates coming up. You contact us, you ask for everybody who's been in their house 25 years or more, and then we do the overlay for the phone numbers, and that is a warm call. Are you aware that you may be affected by the new Prop 19? It may allow you to move up or down, blah, blah, blah. We have marketing pieces that go with it. I'm not trying to pitch myself. I'm just saying, if you're looking for a niche, this is it. Those dates are coming up, you know, February 2nd and April 16th. So, and it does, particularly in Southern California with our numbers, it makes a big difference. People who've been in their home a long time can transfer their tax base, and now it doesn't have to be equal or lesser. It can, you know, and there's other caveats. You can deed properties to your kids and all that, but that has to be done prior to February. So if you're looking for a niche, you know, Prop 19, my thing that seems to be working the best with agents, just do what Amazon does. You know, take your message, filter the recipient 3 ways, and then know that your message and the recipient are matching up. It's easy.
Good answer.
We have enough data sources to do that every day, all day long.
Yeah, good stuff, Kevin. Definitely not a hack, but just something to look
Yeah.
out to.
Little niche here, there.
Exactly, yeah. Alan?
Well, a couple of things too. I was just going to mention regarding NODs. We step back just for a moment. That's one of my search criteria when I look in market areas, and I've been pulling that up for a long time. And I got to be honest with you, when you pull up large swaths of areas, which first of all, active properties are fairly limited in almost all areas. And if they're on the market, they're on 0 to under 30 days. But when you look on there to see NODs, you'll look at large groups of areas, cities, in fact, where there are no NODs at all. You know, where you'll see maybe 1, maybe 2. Probate you'll see, trust you'll see. REOs, rarely, few, very few. And I don't foresee that changing for a while. I would change a little bit of what Doug says. I think that it is very important, obviously, what he's talking about by getting out there and doing the mailers or the letters and all that stuff too. But, you know, if you are really that interested in getting into REOs, not such a terrible time to go out there. But I will tell you, if you're doing this for the long haul, because this ain't going to be happening right away. There are always going to be REOs, always. But it's going to be far and few between. And the one thing that you will also learn from the auction.com, the listing agent is not making very much money for the amount of issues and effort they're putting forth when they're getting like 1% back on their listings. They have to sell them. They have to double in them practically. So if that's really the business you want to go into and you want to just do BPOs and follow properties up for month after month after month of writing reports, maybe to get a listing or two, this is a kind of a time to see if you can hook up with some people. But you know, the rules and regulations, they're all over the place, and I think that they're going to change before this all really starts hitting again. So that's what you want to do. I know that Doug does this a lot, more than I do now. I have done it a lot, but keep your eyes open, keep your connections going. But I think the main thing is talking to people about really listing and buying homes now. And that's where we are right now.
You know, when you look at COVID, or you would look at any negative thing, obviously, you know, we can all spin it, right? That's what PR people do. But there are viable things that have happened during COVID, right? One, people realized either this house works for us, all of us living here, or it doesn't. Either I want to stay in California or I don't. And so those are two market potentials that we didn't have pre-COVID. We were all outside all the time. So we didn't, if our house didn't have enough bathrooms, everyone wasn't home anyway, so who cared, right? But now it's become a thing. And I think it really could not be a better time to just start conversations. It doesn't have to be, do you want to sell your house? You want to sell your house? You want to sell your house? It could be, how's that house working for you? Like, how is it with all you guys there? Or now that all the kids are gone, do you like having a 2-story house? I mean, open-ended questions and let people talk. During crisis, everyone's got a story and they like telling it. And the realtor should be the one listening and hearing it, and then directing them with what they think is best for the client. And really, it just comes down to pick up the phone, call people, and listen to their story. And it seems to convert to deals every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, on point. Let's do a quick round. If you have anything else to add, you pretty much addressed a lot of the questions that whoever's on the call. We have over 100 people, by the way, watching us right now. I'm probably going to have way more at the end watching the recordings. Quick round. If you have anything to add, Jojo. Can I unmute yourself, Jojo?
I use this. Can I share a screen?
I'll hold on. Yes, give me a second. I'll make you the host.
One last item.
Okay. Give it a shot.
There it is. Got it. Okay, so in to tag along to what Alan was saying, I was in my research for today's information and all that, I ran into this procedure available from NAR on how to get certification for short sale and foreclosure. I already passed it on to a couple of my agents. It's about a $300 investment, and you get certified for that process, and they have continuing education as you go through in the next 12 months or so, and it continues for as long as you have that designation. But I thought it'd be a nice little niche for agents if they want to practice or get into that business or anticipate that business. Why not get certified for a $300 investment? It's 6 hours online course.
I love it. That's awesome. And if you don't mind, you can post it on the KW Shares, the Facebook group. That's what people right now are watching, so they can have that, or do your e-blast, whatever it is. Share it with that. This is great. So that's just another resource. Much appreciated.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jojo. If you can make me the host back again.
Sure.
Doug?
I will do that right now. How do I do that?
Drop your share.
Stop my share. There. Is that good?
Thank you. Yeah, just make me the host. Thanks, Jojo. Doug?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity right now. I think what the big agents are doing right now are doing what the title rep said. They're going to people and saying, hey, your house is great. I can easily sell your house in 2 seconds. This is a great time to move up or move down. I'm going to make it convenient for you. People want to hear that I'm going to trade my car in and get a new car, and it's going to be easy. So right now, it's finally easy to sell a house. So as soon as your house is sold, I can get you another house and make it contingent on finding home of choice. And by talking to people, and as he said, you just ask them, where would you want to live? Would you want a bigger house? Now, people are finally realizing that home is just not an investment anymore. It's actually someplace where you want to live and you want to be happy. And it doesn't matter if it costs a little bit more. It's about happiness and your family's safety. And moving to a bigger house or a smaller house or whatever they want to do, I think it's the time. And I think it's going to be a good time for the next couple of years. And all we have to do is be very active at it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Doug. Rosenberg?
I see also a part of that too is a lot of people who've had property investments who have other secondary, third, fourth houses that they are getting rent in. Sometimes they are, as they're getting a little older or just getting tired of maybe not getting paid on it or having issues with tenants or problems and stuff. A lot of these guys are trying to get out of ownership of mini homes. And I've had a few of those happen to me within the last year. People talking to me about, I don't know that I really want to be a landowner and have a lot of properties. thinking about getting rid of a few houses, I think that's a really good place to also reach out to people and say, look, are you still interested in continuing to do this? I can get rid of these houses for you so easily, and we can get top dollar for them. You can do whatever you want. Maybe this is the time to travel, to do the things that you want to do other than just have these properties. So I've been having some pretty good opportunities come by my way. And I think that's going to continue to go that way more and more. But the up and down houses, traditional sales, it's right there in money. You know, it's Doug, you're right on the money. This is like top dollar for now. May not be forever. It could go higher and it could go lower, but man, it's really great. And those interest rates are amazing.
Good stuff. Thank you. Kevin?
I'm just gonna piggyback on what Alan said, which I think, there are some variables that we haven't had before, and the person, particularly, just let's use out-of-state owners. People that live out of state of California do not have as much confidence in California as we who live here. Bottom line, in the last 3 years, tenant landlord rights in our state have gone more to the tenant. So we are seeing a lot of people try to liquidate or at least take some of their portfolio in Southern California and diversify it into other states that pencil better and it's a little more liquid. I think that's a great niche. And again, it just comes down to, if you're looking for biz, do what Amazon does. They know everything I want to buy. So all you need to do is give us the message. We'll do the data mining. You match it up, because the spray and pray thing's done, guys. Don't send a mailer to 2,600 people, because 2,600 families have nothing in common with each other. So take your message, filter it 4 ways, make sure it goes directly to someone that could do your scenario, and then guide them through it. And that seems to be working really well.
I love it. Pretty awesome. And who doesn't like Amazon, right? So
More so than we should.
yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. Well, I just share right now on the chat. Both platforms are virtual PDF for the 2021 Mastermind series. So every month we have one session. So just look out to the text messages and the promo emails, etc. Once again, we're gonna have extra curriculum in between, not just those masterminds. But I want to thank you guys for opening 2021. Doug, Alan, Jojo, Kevin, thanks for your time and for your wisdom. And everybody, just stay on it, stay focused, stay healthy, and keep it busy. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure. Have a good day.
Thanks, Benny.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meny.